Inc.com, and this is the Ask Ken Show. Kevin, hello. Kevin Hughes of Cavalli
Hello,
Channeling, say hello.
everybody. How are you? I hope everybody's having a great January 25th, Wednesday night.
Yeah. So Kevin he owns his business is called Cavalli Channeling, and that's such a great name. I love it. It feels great. It's an amazing. Kevin is one of my graduate students, and he does. What kind of sessions do you do, Kevin?
I do media. I call it mediumship, but I not only get messages from loved ones, I also connect with people's spirit guides and give them messages from their spirit guides. I guess that's still me. Is that mediumship? Is that considered mediumship?
No, it's like spirit guide connection, like spirit guide messages, and then there's
Spirit
mediumship
guide reading.
on loved
Yeah.
ones. I like to kind of keep them a little bit. There can be some
They
mix.
intertwined a lot in my readings.
They can, yeah,
Yeah, guides
yeah,
will usually pop in and out
yeah,
of a message from a loved one, especially if a loved one's trying to give you a advice. Quite often, guides will step in and go, "No, no, no, don't say that."
yes, yes. That's a little bit more advanced mediumship, and I love it that you're doing it that way. So I'm honored enough to have Kevin host the Ask Ken show. And for those of you tuning in, welcome, welcome. So if you want to know more about me, go visit my channelinginc.com website, and that's where you can find out about my workshops and all sorts of cool events that I do. And the way that the Ask Ken show is, the way it works, Kevin, would you like to explain how it works?
This is actually the audience show. To be honest, you guys control the show. You get to ask the questions, no matter what page you're watching on this, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. All you got to do is in the comment section, type in your question, and it'll come up on our screen. And keep them general. You like that, eh? You like the I had to do the hands to show typing.
Yeah, yeah.
Keep the questions general. We're not doing mini readings tonight. That's not what the Ask Ken show is. It's more ask questions about spirituality, ask Ken questions about anything. What he does is he channels the answers. You like that? That was channeling.
Yeah, this is typing, this is channeling,
Channeling.
but you have to have the sound effect.
And what's grounding?
Yes, right. We talked about that
We
earlier.
talked about that off air.
That's where his
So we
peacock
got
feathers
typing, we got
come.
channeling, and we got some grounding.
By the way, any of you watching, hang in there. We're having fun right now. So, my slogan is spirituality is meant to be what, Kevin? Right.
Fun.
Spirituality is meant to be fun. So we're having fun here. We're going to keep it fun this whole hour. If you ever attend any of my workshops or do one-on-one with me, I try to keep it fun. And like Kevin said, you just go ahead and type in your questions, and then I will live channel the answers. And also, what I'd like you to do is please, even if you just want to say hello, just say hello and where you're from, and we'll give you a shout out. So we want to say hi to our participants and our viewers. So yeah, let's. Anybody there yet, Kevin?
Yes, we have Shelly from Alberta. I'm winking at her. Linda Watson says hi. Where are you from, Linda?
Hi, Linda.
And
Hi,
my
Shelley.
little mini me, Jake Hughes, which is my son. He's out in Calgary. He actually has a question. I'll ask that of you when we
Sure.
get started here. But again, like Ken said, if you have questions, just type them in. And my job is Linda Watson is from Vancouver, British Columbia.
All right, Linda, welcome.
And the love of my life, Allison Jones, she's from downstairs here in beautiful Airdrie.
Yeah, yeah.
Too funny. Okay, let's get this rolling. What do you think, Ken? Should we get it rolling right away?
Yeah, let's go. I like Jake's question. Let's jump right into it.
Okay, I'm just going to click on the show. How did you end up getting involved in channeling?
Yeah. Okay. So, in 2004, I had my spiritual awakening, and when I started out, I was basically um, not sure what I was doing at all. And I literally spent years and years where I would just sit in complete silence. And then over those years and years, I would notice there was a presence in my room. And then or after many months and months of just sitting in complete silence, I would notice sometimes that presence would move. And then after many months later, I would feel that presence behind me. And then after many months later, I realized that it was my deceased father. And then after many months after like connecting with him in spirit form, my deceased father, I was eventually able to get a few words here and there. And then after many months later, I was eventually able to get like complete sentences. And then eventually, after many years now, I was able to have full dialogue conversation with my father, which is really beautiful and really cool. And he was
Very
actually my
cool.
spirit guide for the probably the first 10 or so years after my awakening. And he taught me a lot of this stuff like about channeling. And so I tell people like I'm no one special. I'm just an average dude. If you ever meet me in person, please just say hi, give me a hug, like don't like I'm just an average dude. And what the only difference between you and I is I practice a lot. And I really do. Even to this day, I like will just sit there for sometimes hours on end and I'll just practice my channeling and channel and channel and channel. And I have to say, with all honesty and transparency, is that those early years were not easy. I didn't know what I was doing. Sometimes I was getting things of the light coming in and trying to, manipulate me or convince me to do things that weren't good for me or weren't healthy for me. There was times when I felt like almost suicidal. These things were trying to get me to quit my job, break up my relationships, and I could go on and on. It was horrible, and that didn't just last like a short period. This extended over a long period. We're talking 10 plus years. So then through that darkness and that heaviness, I had to figure out, the difference between what's of the light, what's not of the light, discern between what my spirit guides are and something that's not my spirit guides. And then that's when I was eventually able to start writing out and developing my own curriculum where now I have, channeling levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's probably some of the most comprehensive curriculum that is out in the industry. And it's super thorough, super comprehensive, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't. And I asked myself, because I've taken lots and lots of trainings over the years, and I could focus on a lot of things to help people. But I asked myself, I said, okay, what did I need way back in the early 2000s when I first had my spiritual awakening? What would have made the biggest difference for me? And what would have made the biggest difference is to have a mentor, a teacher who could teach me the fundamentals of channeling. And that's why now I choose to focus 100% on teaching people how to channel, and not just a little bit, but super advanced high levels. And that's why the name of my company is called channelinginc.com. And that's why my passion, my mission in this lifetime is to make this world a better place by teaching people how to channel.
That's
So
so awesome. What a
yeah, and I
what
really
a what
truly
a
do believe that.
great mission statement. Um, I've said it so many times over the last 2 months. If all 8 billion people on Earth would wake up one morning and decide, I want to learn how to channel, wow, what a better place this would be. Would it be
Yeah,
perfect? No, it wouldn't be perfect, but it would be
yeah.
a whole lot better.
And
Great.
and Kevin is one of the examples of the like thousands of people I've trained where his life is like so much better. He's like on point. He's doing what he loves. He's able to help people and be in congruence and in alignment with what like his mission is. And like it's so wonderful to have people like you, Kevin, as an example.
Aw,
And there's so many more out there. So I love it.
thanks, Ken. This one's a great question. Just to this is a question that came in during the week, which kind of leads right into what we were saying. Why is learning to channel essential for spirituality and finding one's purpose?
Yeah, this one's really important. I strongly feel that if you can go out there and learn all this other spiritual stuff, and please do, I want you to go for it. It's great. The biggest thing, though, in my opinion, is learning how to channel really, really well, really high levels. Channeling, in my opinion, is the foundation to all spirituality. With that foundation, you can go anywhere. So let's say, for example, you just take, like, let's say the next 6 months, you take the channeling levels 1, 2, and 3, and then after that, you go and you're rocking channeling, and then anything else you take after that, you can use channeling to help learn and take the stuff that you're learning way above what the teacher's teaching you, because there's no teacher out there. They can only teach you like the basic, like some standard guideline stuff, but with channeling there's no limit to what you can do. And that's why I feel like channeling is the foundation to all spirituality, and also helping you fulfill your purpose. Because when you learn to channel at really high levels, your spirit guides are going to help you to channel like all these different areas of your life, like relationships and career and finances and like, oh, I could just keep going on and on and on, and your life's purpose, hobbies, passions, you name it, like fun, joy, and so on. So yeah, definitely learn channeling and learn it really well. And I do recommend taking formal training.
Maybe if I came back on the screen and I actually talk would work better. That is such a great answer because you said it earlier. It definitely has changed the way I look at life. Katie Bigsby asked a message. Katie, we're not really doing um, mini readings tonight, but if you have a spiritual question in general, please type it in. We've had all kinds of new people join us. So we got Katie Bigsby. Where are you from, Katie? And we have Paul Foger, I think his last name is. I'm not sure if that's pronounced correctly, Paul.
Hi, Katie. Hi, Paul. Welcome, welcome.
Paul, I know, is from Calgary, Alberta.
Yeah.
Definitely. So our next question is, does your soul reside in the astral realm?
Partially, but mostly on this earth plane. So let me clarify that. It's a really good question. Does your soul reside in the astral realm? And it does when you're not incarnated. So you live a lifetime and then you die, and when you die, your soul goes back to the astral realm to be with your soul family. You reside in the astral realm for a certain period of time, and then if you decide to incarnate again, your soul comes back down and you know is goes into a baby, basically a fetus or a womb, and then you're born, and then it lives that whatever amount of time, and then when you die and you cross over, your soul releases the container, the body, and then goes back to the astral realm, and so on and so on. That's called reincarnation. So the question is, one thing I've learned with spirituality is not everything is all black and white, yes or no. And I'm channeling it right now live. And in this case, the answer is, the question is, does your soul reside in the astral realm? And the answer is partially yes, and while you're incarnated. So there is certain components of us that actually reside in the astral realm, like our higher self. It's 1 foot above our head, and it also resides in the astral realm, which is where our spirit guides reside. There's also another aspect of you. It's called your astral self. So that's another part that resides in the astral realm. And there's a few other aspects of you as well. And then, and what I'm channeling right now, does your soul reside in the astral realm? And the answer is partially yes. However, it also mostly resides on this earth plane. But it kind of like straddles both the astral realm and this earth plane, if that makes sense.
That
Really
makes
great question.
perfect
Yeah.
sense. Danielle Renee Donnelly has a question, and I like it because this one's happens to me all the time. What would be a good technique to help with the monkey brain when you are meditating and trying to quiet your mind? I admit I have a monkey brain.
Okay, so this is a technique I've actually never really taught before. So any of you watching, if you ever take any of my workshops, they're not lectures. I don't lecture for 2 days straight. That would be really boring. Just listen to me talk. Instead, I do what's called experiential teaching, where I actually get you to experience this stuff. So I'm going to take you through a little exercise right now. Everyone, if you're watching, I'll get you to just sit quietly. Go ahead and close your eyes. So if you can do this right now, and just take a nice deep breath. So 3, 2, 1, everyone. Nice deep breath. Okay, and then what I like to do, so this is a technique I've never taught. So go ahead and just keep your eyes closed. And then what you do is on the inhale, you go re, and then on the exhale, you go lax. So like relax. So you're gonna have to do it nice and slow. So just focus on your own breath and your own timing. Try to slow it nice and down. And you're basically telling yourself to relax. So re on the inhale, relax. And then relax. And I usually do this about a dozen times or more, like 10 to 15 times, somewhere around that. And I go real slow, like just the slower the better, within reason, of course, but just nice and slow. And I'm not in my head. I drop into my body. So you want to drop into your body as you're doing that, and you're telling your body and you're telling your whole, all your aspects basically relax. And the reason why I suggest do it like trying to drop in your body is because your monkey brain is up here. But if you're not up here and you're in your body, your monkey brain just fades, like that busyness. It kind of just fades, and it's almost like you don't have a head. You're just in your body. It's kind of really cool.
That is
Um,
cool. We
it's
have people saying that it really works. So
Yeah, okay, cool. It really does work. What I do, so there's a disclaimer here though, is like, so this is kind of like your own self-guided meditation, which is fine, and I do recommend it. Like, what I do sometimes, if I have a really, really, really busy mind, I will do the relax kind of process at the beginning for about the first 10 to 15 times. But then what I'll do is I'll just shut it down and I won't do anything. And I'll just try to drop that and drop everything along with it. And the meditation format that I suggest that people do is called silent meditation, where you do nothing. So no noise, no music, no nothing, no incense, no nothing, nothing at all. And the reason why is because if you think of like ripples on a pond, you want to just calm those ripples. You want to calm the storm, calm the pond, so that there's no thoughts, there's nothing at all, completely nothingness. And that's a good way to get to that point. But eventually you want to get to a point in your meditation practice where you don't even do that at all. You just drop right into it and you
I
go
like it.
completely silence, and try that. So yeah, try that. Let me know how that works, and then write that in the comments. If whatever platform you're watching this on, just write that of how you tried that. And now, another thing I'm going to say about meditation, it's not like you just do it once and then you're like, oh, it didn't work. There's a saying out there that says, if you struggle meditating for half an hour, good, do it for two. Things like that. If you say that meditation doesn't work, that means you're not trying hard enough. Like, just keep doing it, and eventually you'll get it. When I first did it way back in 2013 was when I first did it. It took me 3 months, 2 hours a day, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour a day, every single day without missing a day, until that 3 month point that it finally clicked. And I've never been like, I would not be here if it wasn't for me meditating. So I highly recommend all my students try to have a meditation practice on a regular daily basis. Try not to miss any days. If you do, you do, but try to not miss any, and try to go for probably a bit longer than you think. So if you think like 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is a long time, try to go for 20,
Yeah.
something like that, or longer.
Do you have a technique when your mind wanders? Shelley Wasler was asking.
Yeah, thank you. So actually I do. You know what the technique is? First thing is awareness. So if I notice my mind wander, I bring it back to the center. So center, like right here. And then if I notice my mind wandering again, I bring it back to center. And then I know if I notice my mind wandering, I bring it back to center. And something that's really important that I had to kind of learn the hard way was, I was really hard and beat myself up when I noticed my mind wandering. I'm like, Ken, what's the matter with you? You suck, you stupid idiot, all that stuff, negative self-talk stuff. And then after, again, 3 months, it took me that long, where one day I noticed my mind wandering. I'm like, oh, my mind just wandered. Oh, okay, no big deal, bring it back. And then ever since that time, when I didn't beat myself or was hard on myself, it was just like no big deal. And then, you just keep bringing it back to the center. And then notice your mind wander, bring it back to the center. Notice mind wander, bring it back to the center. There's a few other techniques too that people have used, and I use this from time to time, which is kind of like observing your thoughts, kind of like clouds, like thought bubbles, and then just letting them fade away. And then another thought comes in and you let it just fade away. And your goal, if you were to have a goal with meditating, is to try to get to a point in your meditation where you actually have no thoughts. And if you can go like 30 seconds to a minute with zero thoughts, like, that's huge. That's a big success. If you can go 5 minutes, that would be incredible. And that's just phenomenal. So yeah, try it out,
Excellent.
and try it for like many months, not just like one, and try to be consistent in your meditation practice.
Just like anything else, I always use the example. Wayne Gretzky didn't become the greatest hockey player because he shot a puck once. He shot a puck at his garage a million times. That's
Yeah.
how he became the greatest hockey player we know, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. This one is cool because I've actually had this brought to me before, so I want your opinion on how you would deal with this situation. So I had a conversation with someone today, and she thinks channeling is a natural thing, and therefore no schooling for it and teaching it, and sessions should all be free. If you do charge, you're a scammer. How do you feel about those kinds of situations, or how do you deal with those kinds of situations?
Yeah, I don't disagree. That's fine. Like I'm not here to try to convince anyone otherwise. It's kind of like saying, you know, skating, everyone can skate, so therefore you should never have to take lessons. And if someone does, then they're a scammer. Okay, well, try to learn it on your own.
Yeah.
And you might be okay, but it might take you a long time to learn how to skate, or you can just kind of buckle down, pay somebody to teach you skating lessons, and within a short period of time, you're a really good skater. And not just, and maybe way beyond anything you could have imagined. You can skate and do things that you never thought. And the thing is, like, if that teacher for skating lessons, if you didn't pay that person and compensate them, then they would have to go out and find other ways to make money to support their living, and they may not be able to help as many people. But if they decided to, like a chiropractor, if they decide that they want to do chiropractic for a living, and they charge for their sessions, then if they're able to get to a point where they're able to do that full time, they can help a lot more people than if they didn't charge and they had to go work another job. And then after their busy, 9 to 5 kind of job, they would have to come home after work when they're exhausted, tired, and take care of their family duties and everything else, maybe get 1 hour to help one person. But if you can do this full time, you can help a lot more people because that's what you do. And so every single person in the world, like in the helping industry, pretty much gets paid for what they do. Chiropractors, massage therapists, you could go on, acupuncturists, and I've all of them have taken my channeling workshops. And then because if they've taken formal training, they're able to do it at much, much, much higher levels. It's kind of like saying, like, well, everyone could do psychology. I don't disagree with that. But you go to school and you go to a university, an accredited school, and you learn that and you get your degree to become a psychologist. Now you're doing really, really, really advanced levels. And then you open up your own practice and you charge for those sessions. And now you're able to do this full time and help a lot more people because you have that time free and you don't have to go get another job and do this on the side for free. And I always say to people, like, if you want to like spend like I did, like 20 years and learn this on your own, good luck. Like, do it, go for it, all the power to you. And then when you get to a point where I'm at and you are super highly developed and skilled in your channeling abilities, and then you want to go out and spend like 10,000 hours of developing the channeling curriculum and then just give away your services for free, go for it. All for it. All the
Yes.
power to you. I'm not stopping you. I'm not disagreeing, and you're welcome to. And I always tell people, if they think that the prices or this it's not worth it, then don't pay it. Like, we have free will. It's kind of like, if you don't want to shop on Amazon because of whatever reason, then don't. Go shop somewhere else, and that's okay. So you have free will, and you're welcome to do what you want. Like I said, I do recommend, though, that everyone try to take some form of formal training for channeling, so that it actually, rather than just winging it, because I found through my experience with like the thousands of people I've worked with over the years, when they try to do it on their own, they usually just kind of like hover around a certain level. But when you actually take formal training, that's like 50 plus page manuals and exercise and activities, and somebody who's been down that road ahead of you, you can learn your learning curve is going to, instead of it being like this, it'll be like this, and you'll
Oh, yeah.
skyrocket in how quick and fast you'll learn this stuff.
If I hadn't taken the first step and taking a course, whether it be through you or somebody else, I would never be able to say I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of readings in the
Yeah.
last 2.5, 3 years. Um, would I still be seeing spirit? Yeah. Would I still see quotation marks dead people? Yeah. Because I seen them long before I met Ken. The difference now is I know what I'm dealing with
Yeah.
and I know how to deal with it.
And you know how to do it
So
at very advanced high levels. Yeah.
anybody that's ever done have watched any of my shows, had done a session with me, they know how big of a fan I am of you, Ken, and of your teaching. So,
Yeah.
um, and yes, of course, we have to charge for it.
It's like saying cooking, right? Like everyone could cook, okay, but some
Yeah,
people decide that they want to do like cooking at really advanced levels, and so they take a cooking class and they get paid
exactly.
for it. And the teacher needs to get paid because that's how they support themselves and their family and their housing and their utilities and all that stuff. So, and if you don't want to take a cooking class, like a formal training, then don't, and that's okay. Does that mean
Yes.
that head chef that's teaching the class is a scammer because he's not giving it away for free because everyone could cook already? Well, you can, but you're learning more advanced stuff. And so the reason though I'm so passionate about spirituality and teaching people how to channel is because it is the foundation to all spirituality. And so by taking this, you're going to this isn't something that you're just going to learn and then you'll be like, okay, I did that, done that. No, this is something you'll learn and you'll use the rest of your life in all the areas of your life. And how powerful and empowering is that?
Well, I actually just told someone just the other day, if you learn a new skill, whether it be knitting, massage, and you never use it, it's a useless skill,
Mhm.
right? Once you learn channeling, you use it. There's not the choice of not using it. I don't think, because I don't think there's a choice. Excellent answer, Ken. Thank you. That was really well said.
Great question too, and thank you. And I love that people ask questions like that.
Here is a great question. This is from Babylon, watching on YouTube. Greetings. Do some spirits that are angry with you or someone in your bloodline hang around you to cause harm?
Mm, it's a kind of the answer is it can be yes. It's a really great question. I'm just channeling right now because there's a couple situations. Like there's really two questions, and the one that I'm kind of getting. So the answer, like about the bloodline thing, is that the answer could be yes, and also the other one could be yes. So let me make it very clear. There, in the ideal world, I would love to say that all spirits are of the light, and spirituality is just all like love and light and rainbows and unicorns and fart sprinkles out your butthole and all that stuff. No, that's not the case. It's not. It's really not. And eventually though I do want to get my students to a point where they are fully like healthy and strong and empowered, and that you don't have to worry about that stuff like pretty much never. And you can get to that point where you don't have to worry about that stuff so much. It takes in my experience, it takes like a lot of healing, clearing, spiritual upgrades, enhancements, all sorts of cool stuff like that. And I do that with my students on a regular basis, and also in the workshops. So let me clarify his question a bit. The question is, or the answer to the question is that there can be spirits that are not of the light that can detrimentally affect people, and that's what I was talking about. Like in my early years, I didn't know how to discern or differentiate between those spirits that were not of the light and unhealthy for me, and so out of that darkness when they were trying to get me to do things that were not in my highest and greatest good, I was able to, over many many years, I was able to eventually figure out that, hey, wait a second, how do I discern and tell the difference? And so then that's out of that I was able to figure out, okay, now how do I know if somebody's my spirit guides? And then if they're not my spirit guides, then who are they, and are they of the light? And if they're not, what to do with it? So then from there, I've developed some techniques on how to identify them, and you can tell they're completely different. When you get really good at this, you can tell really good if some like a soul is not doesn't have your best interest in mind. You can tell there is ways, and that's my more advanced training, levels 2 and 3 and stuff like that. We get into that. And then as for the bloodlines, is the answer is it's possible, but it's just as possible of any random soul coming in and affecting you also detrimentally. It could also potentially be a bloodline, like someone of your family, earth family that was, or your lineage. It's not quite as common as I think people think. So that's why I'm not giving a full yes or no. It's pretty rare from my experience, but it can happen. And then there's ways to help that soul cross over so they are of the light, and then they can communicate with you. And I teach all that in levels 2. channeling level 2, and so on. So great question. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was an awesome question. Here's a question that came in during the week. Best methods to do daily chakra clearing. First off, because there's going to be some people listening that when we say the word chakra, they don't know what that means. So let's
Yeah.
explain what chakras are and then the best way to clear them.
Thank you. Yeah. So a chakra is an energy vortex. So we have, several. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. Like, there's a lot of different views on this. When I psychically scan into somebody, there's 7 major chakras, a whole bunch of minor chakras. So there's lots. And each one of these chakras are these vortex. It does play a real function, a real life function. For example, there was a guy that when he would, talk, that I met at a Spirit Expo one time, he would try to talk, but he couldn't project his voice. He couldn't speak loud. And then an energy healer cleared his throat chakra. And then all of a sudden, for the first time in his life, he was able to like project his voice. And even his teenage daughter was like, "Oh my goodness, Dad, I can actually hear you for the first time in my life." And he was like, "I know, right?" Like, it was just fantastic. And each one of our chakras have a different function, and they do play a real world role in our overall health. So in general, you would probably want like what's called an attunement. An attunement is when you get a symbol that's inputted into you, it's inserted, and then it's connected to, like, it's a lot more than just putting a symbol into somebody. You have to put the symbol in to attune somebody properly, put it in, connect it to its aspect, all these other aspects of you, connect it to your soul, connect it to your timeline, update your Akashic records, and fully light up that symbol. And then from there, you're attuned to that energy. And then you can channel that energy, but it's different than channeling what I teach. It's channeling, and I do teach this as well in my level 4, when I teach you how to be actually give you attunements, and I teach you how to do healing. That's really, really, really advanced stuff with the medical mediumship and all that I teach. So what I do, and I do this on a regular basis, is I'm a big proponent about people being empowered. So you get like these abilities and you use them on yourself. And so even for me, like, a lot of people, they want to give their power away and say, "Oh, I need a healer to do this. I need a healer to do that." I'm like, "Well, wait a second. Haven't you had this kind of training?" They're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, why aren't you doing it on yourself?" They're like, "Oh yeah, I keep forgetting." I'm like, "No, no." So even for me, I'm really big about, like, I live what I teach to the best of my ability. So I do energy clearing on my chakras on a daily basis. And I'll literally, like, just run my hands over my chakras. And I do this almost daily, like literally, like in the morning when I get up, in the evening before bed, and sometimes even throughout the day. I'll do daily chakra clearing. Why is this important? Ideally, you want your chakras to be in 3 ideal states, and the 3 optimal states are: you want them to be open, not closed; you want them to be flowing, okay, not in a stuck state; and you want them to be clear, not murky or contaminated, all gunked up. So you want them to be what? Open, flowing, and clear. And then you go through each chakra and you make sure and you double check that they're all really good. So that's what you want to do for those. See if I get my camera back.
Oh, Ken is having technical difficulties. Just put your hand up to it again, Ken.
Okay, try that.
Wow.
My chakras are a little bit like, they're like, "Come on, get some."
Come on. You're still blurry. That's really weird. That
Yeah.
is weird. So as Ken is trying to straighten that out, we've had all kinds of new people join us for the last half hour of the show. This is your guys' show. If you guys have a question, type question in. Doesn't matter what platform you're watching on it, whether it be YouTube, you have the live chat, Facebook, or Twitter. We're going to try to be on TikTok next week. Please type your questions in. We will see them. And just remember, keep the questions general. We're not doing mini readings. There we go, Ken. That's much better. Fixed it. So again, type your questions in and we'll get to them in the last half hour of the show. So this is a good one. This is Paul from Calgary. Many people use crystals, gems, and stones for warding off negative entities or energies, um, or use them for better connection. Is it necessary?
So a two-part question. I'll answer one part and then I'll answer the other. Does it help for warding off entities or bad spirits or whatever? The answer is not really no. I would love to say it does. It doesn't do much for that. It really doesn't. Like they can come past those. What it does do though is like not all of them because different crystals do different things, and I do teach how to channel crystals in channeling level 3. It's in my expert level. It's so cool. It's so fun. I actually get my students to grab a crystal and we practice channeling it, but way beyond what you think. Like it's not just like, oh, this is go into a crystal store and this is what it says, so that must be what it really is. And is it really? Well, let's find out. So sometimes it is, but a lot of times it isn't. And so what a crystal can do is it can help increase your vibration and increase your energy. And then from that, it is, yes, it's more difficult for these kind of, as Paul puts it, these entities or these things that are not of the light to affect you because your energy is vibrating at such a high level. It can make it a little bit more difficult for them to affect you. But that doesn't mean, I still recommend there's other methods that are better at clearing them than just holding and having crystals all the time. What I don't want my students to do is, let's say, for example, they think that they need these certain crystals to do anything. So one day they decide that they're going to go out and meet with some friends or something, and then they forget their crystals, and they're like, "Oh man, no, I can't do any of this stuff." Well, is that true? Or they might be like, oh no, now I'm going to get attacked and something bad's going to happen because I don't have my crystals with me. And I'm like, well, is that true? And so I'm trying to encourage my students not to live in fear and to be more like, if you do have any of these kind of crystals, it's their what I call complementary or enhancers. They can help, but the bulk of what you can do is already within you. You can do this. And so if you have any crystals, they can aid and help and assist in some of those things, but you don't need it for everything, and they just help with certain things. So, oh, there goes my camera again.
Isn't
I
that weird? I don't know
have
what
to
it
stop
is.
moving.
Maybe it's something on your camera lens.
Yeah, it looks pretty clear to me. Let me try this one more time.
Yeah. So again, Susan Pattison tuning in from the West Coast. I believe it's just outside of Vancouver. Welcome, Chaley. Hello, where are you from, Chaley? Let us know.
Hi,
Oh,
Susan. Hi,
okay.
Kelly. Welcome, welcome.
Let's just keep going here.
Oh, and then
Oh,
does crystals help with increasing your connection? Again, it can, yes, but I don't want you to think that you have to have a crystal to connect with your spirit guides and other things like that. You don't. It can help. I do recommend trying it without it so that you can, not because again, I don't want people to think, oh, if I don't have this crystal, I can't channel.
yeah.
Like that's ridiculousness.
Because
So go ahead, next question.
yeah. Next question. That's a great question, by the way. I really like those types of questions.
Yeah, great question.
Oops, sorry. When your ears ring, is it your spirit guides trying to get your attention?
Can be, yes. So it's a great question. I get this a question quite often. So in this case, I'll speak from personal experience. What I notice with me is that sometimes I'll just be sitting there, I'll be minding my own business. All of a sudden, I'll feel like this hollowness, like this, all of a sudden, like this wall, like it's like I'm in a fishbowl or something like this. It's crazy. Or my ear will just ring at a super high pitched. Now, way back in the day, I used to think that, oh, every time I hear that, it must be my spirit guides. And then as I started getting more advanced in my channeling, I was like, well, wait a second. Why am I assuming that it's my spirit guides every time? Why don't I check? I have the ability to check. I'm a channeler. I know how to do this. So what I've noticed is that, yeah, sometimes it is my spirit guides and sometimes it's not. So I don't assume, I check. And sometimes it's just my ear ringing for whatever reason, or it's just that hollow kind of feeling for whatever reason, maybe pressure change, or when you're coming down from an airplane and all of a sudden you feel like everything's like, and then your ears pop and it could be just something like that, like a barometric thing or a physical thing. And sometimes your ears just ring for whatever reason. But if I check and it is my spirit guides, then what do? I stop whatever I'm doing if I can, and I try to tune into my guides. So I'll find out where they are physically around me, lock into them, see first of all, who is it, which one of my spirit guides, and ask them, do you have a message for me? And oftentimes they do, not always, but sometimes they're just hanging out or whatever. But when they make my ear ring, and it could be either ear, I don't get caught up on which side. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to me. That's oftentimes that's them trying to get my attention because they are trying to give a message to me. And then so I quiet myself, kind of like what we talked about in that meditation technique, where I relax, quiet my mind, and then I ask, okay, what is the message you're trying to give me? And then allow that message to come in.
That is awesome. Chili has a question. It's very specific, so I'm going to make it more general for you, Chili, because we're not really doing individual readings today. But kind of with what she's asking, will spirit guides, do they have the ability to give us information on relationships? Should we stay with this person? Should we not stay with this person? Etc.
Yeah. So our spirit guides, my experience has been over, training thousands of people plus with myself and others, is that most people have somewhere between 3 to 5 spirit guides during any one season of their life. Some people have 2, some people have 6, but in general, I found it's at like that 3 to 5 range, and it can change depending on which season of your life is. It is, and so each spirit guide in this example, I'm using 4, but again, it could be 5, it could be 3, or whatever. In this example, I'm using 4. So each spirit guide helps us with a different area of our life. However, we have more than 4 areas of our life. We have dozens, if not hundreds, of different areas. So oftentimes, some guides will help us with multiple areas of our life. And one of those areas is relationships. So what I train my students on how to do is how to channel at very advanced levels, because oftentimes it's not just a yes or no answer. Should I stay with this guy? Yes or no. Oftentimes it's more complex and deeper answers that they're trying to give us. So with more advanced channeling techniques, you can flush out what the message is from your spirit guides as to what's in your highest and greatest good. Plus, if there's things like kids or other factors involved, you can get the answers, like take all that into account as well, because oftentimes there's multiple factors that need to be addressed or looked at as well. And I also want to encourage to my students is that there's not always one right answer. Sometimes there might be an answer like, oh, maybe you guys need to take a step back for a while. That's not a full break. It's just like, okay, take some time apart for a while and then revisit it later. Or maybe you need to have that tough conversation to kind of see where, the other person is, or maybe it's about setting boundaries, or maybe it's about addressing your needs and and that person didn't know, oh, that's what you need in this relationship. Okay, thanks for telling me. And then, so it's not always a yes or no answer. So careful with that, and try to like go deeper with your spirit guides and find out which one of your guides helps you with relationships, and then invite that guide in, and then suggest what they take. And maybe it has nothing to do with that other person. Maybe it's all about you doing your own inner work and your own healing. And then as you keep doing that over the months and the years, then that relationship can become healthier and healthier because you're working on yourself and focusing on your side of the street, as they call it.
That's a great answer. I love it. We've talked a lot about communicating with our spirit guides today. This is a question. It's funny because when I first started, I was really concerned with this one. Do your spirit guides have a time limit of how long they will chat with you? In other words, can you overuse your spirit guides?
Yeah.
Be
So
nice. I saw the smirk.
the second question I'll answer first, which is, can you overuse your spirit guides? The answer is no. You can never overuse them. They're not like incarnated people. Well, you know how sometimes people might be haggling you and going on like help, like, and then after a while you're like, hey, enough already, like get lost, like that's enough, right? Your spirit guides aren't like that. You can never offend them, you can never upset them, you can never overuse them. In fact, I encourage my students to, I would prefer, if this is a spectrum and this is overusing them, this is underusing them, guess where I'd prefer them to be? I'd prefer them to be on this half of the spectrum, where they're trying to use their spirit guides more often, because most people way underutilize their spirit guides and their
Yes.
guidance. Um, the question, though, is that the other question is, like, do you have a time limit of how long you can chat with your spirit guides? And the answer is no. Or how long they'll chat with you? And the answer is not really. However, like sometimes, like if you're asking things like, okay, tell me the meaning of life, or the, the laws and secrets of the universe and all that, they're not going to give you an entire like encyclopedia set in one sitting. What they'll do is they'll give you bite-sized pieces and then let you kind of like process that and chew on that for a while, and then maybe another like day or a week later, a couple weeks later, they might give you another chunk, and then you kind of sit on that, process that. And the same thing might happen too with like, let's say you're thinking about moving somewhere, or you're thinking about like a different career path, or you're thinking about maybe going back to school to take a different, they might give you certain things at a certain point and then let you kind of sit with that, and then kind of let you set, kind of go, okay, yeah, that's some good ideas. And then a few days later give you a bit more information and let you sit and process that. But what they're not going to, they might give you all the answers in one sitting. More likely though, they'll give you chunk bite pieces. And sometimes what I've seen my students do is they'll want to get all the answers, so they'll keep going on and on and on for like hours, and their guide's like, why are you still going on? Like, I've been done like 20 in the first 20 minutes I was done. Why are you still going on? It's been 2 hours now. And so like that's all I'm going to give you. I'm not going to give you any more until you take action on this, or you process this, or you
Yes.
sit with this, or you like let yourself be comfortable with this new paradigm shift, a new thought process. Or um, you know, oftentimes though, what I found, Kevin, is that our guides will say, okay, you take this action first, and then I will reveal the next step. And they won't reveal the next step until you take that action. So it's kind of like the analogy that I use is like, imagine you're in a rainforest and it's completely foggy. You can't see anything in front of you. And then you come across one of those like string bridges with the planks of wood, and it's like like a bridge or whatever. And then so you can do though is you can see that one step in front of you, but you can't see anything else. So you almost, like on faith, you almost have to take that one step. And then you're like, okay, now that you've taken that one step, the next step reveals itself, so you take that next step. And then once you take that step, the next step reveals itself, so you take that step. And you keep going, and then next thing you know, after so many steps, you look back and you cross that bridge, and you're like, oh my god, I got to the other side. And like, I didn't know where exactly it was going to lead to, but look how phenomenal it is. And your guides are kind of like that. Oftentimes they'll just say, okay, you take this one step first, this one step first, Ken, and then I'll reveal the next step. And then you're like, okay, I'll do it. And then you do, and then they're like, okay, great, now that you've taken that step, here's the next one. And you keep doing that. And then yeah, it's just magical how that works out.
And they won't give you the winning lottery numbers. I've asked. But they won't give you that extra information when they say go out and finish that step first, unless you fully finish the step. You can't do it halfway.
Yeah,
And a lot of people get like, but I did it. And I'm like, no, you did it. You did kind of partially did it. You
yeah.
did you did a baby step. You didn't take an adult step. Great answer. What a great night. What a great questions we've
No,
had.
great questions. And so, any of you watching, like, this is the Ask Ken show. You ask these questions, type them in, and we'll answer those questions. So if you have any right now and you're watching, please ask. And of course, you're welcome to visit my website, channelinginc.com. And let's keep going, Kevin. I'm having a blast. Let's keep
I
going.
am too.
Woo-hoo.
This is a good one. I like this one. Can I communicate with animals? And if so, how?
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics. So, in my channeling level 4, it's my animal communication, animal healing and communication, because I actually teach you how to do healing, not just on animals. You can also use this on humans. But yeah, it's so wonderful. So, can I channel? Can I communicate with animals? And the answer is yes. So, a real simple, basic method. Again, there's much more advanced methods. A very basic method is to, again, sit somewhere quietly. Your pet, for example, doesn't have to be in the room. And what you do is you focus on your pet's soul from a distance. And then what you do is you take your time and you slowly go closer psychically, like in your mind, you go closer to your pet. Try not to rush in. Sometimes that'll startle them. Pets are much more sensitive than humans. And if you startle them and they shut you down, you're done. You'll have to wait another day or something like that. So go in nice and slowly, psychically, go in slowly, and then when you get nice and close, then you can really focus on their soul. You can communicate with their soul. You can find out what their soul wants, the wants, desires, needs of your pet. If there's any challenges that they're struggling with it, oftentimes you can find out what's going on with them. And then even more advanced animal communication training, I teach people how to channel the pet's spirit guides. And yes, they do have spirit guides. And then there's much more advanced stuff in that. And then how to do healing on them, I teach all that as well. So it keeps going and going. And then how to do what's called medical mediumship, where you scan them and find the ailment or the challenge that they're struggling with. And yeah, it's really cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Here is a great question. How do you handle the Mercury retrograde, which we just came
Uh,
out of? Did we not? We just finished it, I believe.
I have no idea.
I love your
I
answer.
The only no on it like honestly, the only time I ever find out about Mercury retrograde is when somebody tells me. I'm like, oh, okay. I
I'm the same way.
I just don't allow it to affect me. I know there's all these theories out there where people say, don't do this, do that, do that, do this, do that during Mercury retrograde. You know what? I just go and live my life and rock the shit out of it and keep just blasting away. I could care less what's going on in the celestials. I just keep doing what I'm doing, and it seems to be working. And I don't allow outside circumstances to stop me from doing what I'm guided to do. So let me say it a different way: is what I teach is I teach my students how to channel their spirit guides, and regardless of what's going on in the celestial or the celeste, regardless of what's going on, if they're my guides are guiding me to do something, I do it. Anything that they tell me always supersedes anything else that people might say online about this, about that. So the way that I handle, think of it like this way: is if you think of like the big, you know, the people that are ultra successful in this industry, in the spirituality industry, do you think all of a sudden they stop what they're doing? Like they have a multi-million-dollar business that they're doing, and then all of a sudden they stop for that Mercury retrograde period? No, they just keep going and they keep going and they keep going, and they become super ultra successful because they don't allow things like that to stop them. And with channeling, you can keep getting your guidance on what to do and not to do during those periods. But for
Yeah,
me, I don't even know when they come and go. I don't know when the next one is. I don't really care. It's not going to stop me or change my life.
that's an awesome answer. Honest and awesome. Quick question. Not a quick question, but I'm going to probably wrap it up with this one. This one came in during the week. If I'm getting a psychic message for someone, should I pass it along to them? What if I'm in the spiritual closet?
Come out of the spiritual closet.
I knew that's what I was literally going to erase that part of the question because I knew that's what you were going to say. Because Ken is a
Well,
big believer in
so
we do
think
what
of
we
it
do.
this way. There's people out there that need your help, that need your services, that need you to do what you're really meant to do in this lifetime. So if you're in that spiritual closet, how are you supposed to help people to the fullest that you can because you're so afraid of what people might think? Now, I kind of I this is a touchy subject for some people. Let me say it a different way: is that um, I don't know about you, but I don't want to get to my deathbed and be laying on my deathbed and saying, "Oh, you know what? I really am so glad." Like, I don't want to be at a point where I'm like, "I'm so glad I listened to all those naysayers and all those people who, were, I just lived my whole life in fear and I stayed minimal and nominal and I didn't do anything with my life." I don't want to get to my, and some people do, and that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And if that's you, that's okay. I'm not, no judgment there at all. What I do though is I want to get to a point like where I come to the end of my life and I say, I don't care what other people think. I lived it to my fullest. And I'm not going to let a few people, whether it's family members or friends or whatever, dictate how I know I'm supposed to live my life to its fullest. And I'm really passionate about that. That's really important because there's always going to be those critics, and there's I've heard this saying way back when, is they've never built a statue out of a critic. So they've built statues out of people that have gone against the critics and instead have stood up for what they know to, like. what they're really meant to do at this lifetime. And you always, every single successful person, every single successful company in the world always has critics. And it's ironic because the more critics you have, that means the more successful you are. And um, if you want to help people to your fullest with spirituality, chances are at some point you will have to come out of the closet. So um, when it comes to the other question, which is if I'm getting a message to pass along to somebody, how do I know if I'm supposed to do that or not? And that's a really good question. The answer is not, you're not always actually supposed to. There are times when actually you're meant to just keep your mouth shut and not say a word. However, there are a lot of times when you are meant to share that. And it's about being brave and just saying, this could be totally off, totally wrong, but this is what I'm getting, a message for you, and I hope you're okay to receiving it. And this is, if it's okay, I would just like to share it. And oftentimes, most people are totally open to receiving the message. And then you share it, and you let it like land with them. Sometimes I get messages from people that are really tough, hard messages to pass along. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll give like a little bit of a preamble, like, um, I'm trying to say this in the most kindest, gentlest way possible, and then you give the message or something like that. So there's ways of doing it. The thing that I found with me, and this is from real experience, is that as I do it more and more, yes, the first few years were pretty tough for me to give those messages to people when I wasn't sure. I was all afraid. What if I'm wrong, or what if I'm scared, or what if they get upset with me, all that stuff. And then as I kept doing it and doing it, I found that I got better at it, and also the receptivity on their end was a lot better. Does this make sense? So just
Makes total sense.
just try to just be brave and do it many, many times.
And the key
And
there, I
please
think,
come out
is,
of that spiritual closet. Please do.
and I think the important part there is make sure you're supposed to give the messages. And the easy way to do that is ask your guides.
Yeah. Your guides will
Because
let you know.
I find with what I do, because I do mediumship on a daily basis, I have loved ones coming in on a regular basis, just random. And I'll be like, am I supposed to? And my guides were like, no. And I'm like, really? And they're like, absolutely no. Because you got to remember, loved ones, they love you, but they don't know your bigger picture. Guides know your bigger picture.
Yeah, well said, Kevin.
Excellent. Well, Ken, I am going. Oh, we have one. Do we have another question? Nope. Just says makes sense. Why don't we tell everybody what Ken is up to as far as when your next sessions are going to be, as far as your channeling workshops going to be?
Yeah, so because this is also going to be recorded and viewed whenever, so if you're watching this at any time, please go back to those exercises I did earlier in the 1 hour. What I recommend you do is go to my website. So it's channelinginc.com, and I have events going on all the time. Like I have intro channeling workshops, intro animal communication workshops, full entire like certification programs that I was talking about here. 50 plus page manual comes with it. It's like formal training, super cool, super awesome. I do some live events. I do some in-person stuff. I do all sorts of cool stuff. So the best place to find out what I'm doing on a regular basis, actually, if you go to my website, channelinginc.com, and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see a calendar, and that calendar shows all the stuff that Ken's doing. So please go check it out. And of course, if any of you would like a one-on-one reading with Kevin, Kevin does one-on-one readings, and he's phenomenal. He really is. I can vouch for him on that. And of course, if you want to learn channeling, like Kevin learned from me, and I've taught thousands of people, please visit my website or private message me, and I will get back to you. And I'm open to any questions. So yeah.
And you do one-on-one sessions as well, do you not?
Yeah, I do one-on-ones. So if you would like to go to my channelinginc.com website, click on book a session. And then if it's your first time, make sure you click on that discounted checkbox. It's a one-time discount for doing a session with me. And it is phenomenal, mind-blowing. And if any of you are watching, you've already done a session, you would like to do another one, you know how phenomenal it is. And I will be actually training you and teaching you how to channel like super, super high level. And if there's any healing, clearing, or spiritual upgrades or enhancements or activations or attunements like we did earlier, I will do those for you as well, so we can keep working on the upgrades and the ascension process, which is just so fun. And yeah.
That is awesome. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can go to Cavelli Channeling on Facebook and click the book now, and you'll be able to see my availability. If you don't see a time that works for you, PM me. I'll work with you.
Yeah. And Kevin, spirituality is meant to be what?
Fun!
So have fun, everyone. Have fun with spirituality. Keep it light, keep it fun. And we do this, the Ask Ken show, once a month. So make sure you tune in next month. And if you have,
February 22nd, to be
yes,
exact.
write your questions down and then show up live the